Mwisho mlango kumbe ilikuwa wazi, wengine wakaingia ndani wakaharibu, si ndio? Mimi nikatoka hapa nikafika State House. Kufika State House nikakuta rafiki yangu wako hapo. Sitaki kusema alikuwa anafanya nini, kwa sababu sisi ni wazee. So ndio huyo sasa hii maneno sijui nini, mimi sitaki mimi nataka kwenda Ichaweri, wewe sijui sasa mimi sitaki, wacha tuachane na hii kitu. Mimi nikamwangalia nikamwambia, wewe ni vile tu nilikuwa na heshima, ningemchapa kofi. Ati sisi tuache, ati tutoke hapa. Hapana. Na ni kura tumeshinda. Kwani alikuwa ametushinda wapi? Tumeshinda wabunge, tumeshinda magavana, tumeshinda senators wengi, tumefanya hiyo kazi yote. Ukora tu ameenda kufanya hapo kidogo. So nikamwambia awache mchezo. Nikamtoa hapo nikampeleka hapo Bama, tukaenda kula nyama. Akapona kidogo namna hii.
Just when things were very quiet on our political scene, something happened. An audio was leaked that has changed everything. Indeed, an audio that has had major impact politically. Indeed, an audio that will definitely influence the way Kenyans vote on August 9th for their next president. You'll of course know I'm talking about the leaked audio, where the deputy president said in very clear language that he almost karibu nipige kofi Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Ni heshima tu. You've heard the audio for yourself. Yeah, there's no mistaking what he said. He was not misquoted. This is clearly his voice. Yeah, there was no photoshopping here. This was him. And this was him telling a story. Yeah, which is accurate because it adds up. It fits in with all the other facts we have surrounding that time, yeah, when this is supposed to have happened. On my show today, I go in very deep to give you the inside story behind this audio, yeah, which you may not have heard anywhere else until now. Karibu sana. But before we start, let me remind you about my classic ebook, Let the Blood Flow. The offer is now at its tail end, so please rush and take full advantage, so that when the video version comes out, you will have it. Yeah, there's a video version of the entire book, yeah, which you'll be able to take in. And only those who have purchased the ebook will be able to do this. So rush. And of course, you'll also get free membership to my weekly intelligence briefings. Right. Let's get down to business. And please like this video, yeah, if you're already enjoying it. If you're already anticipating even more action and drama, please like it, yeah, so that I reach more Kenyans. Twende kazi. Drama bin drama, Arab drama mto drama, side drama, nyar drama, ole drama, zote pamoja. Yeah. Folks, this can't be true. Ati the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya almost syllabbed the President of the Republic of Kenya. No. No, fake news. Can't be true. That has to be the reaction of any Kenyan who knows any little thing about security, and especially security in the country called Kenya. Because you see, the president is commander-in-chief of all the armed forces. How do you even start? How do you even get the thought? What? Anyway, I want us to start with something most people seem to have missed. And that is a simple question. How was this audio made? How? Now, let me just bring you up to speed, in case you're not a subscriber to my weekly intelligence briefings. Yeah, because I covered this a while back, I believe sometime last year. Before you enter the residence of the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto, there are no less than 3 checkpoints. Security. The whole idea is to ensure that nobody carries any item that may record sound or pictures as the Deputy President is speaking. Let's understand that. In case the media attends a function, they can only come in after the Deputy President has spoken to whatever party has come to see him. And now it is just show for the media. It is now just a media event. The political event usually happens fast, without anybody in that meeting even having their own phone with them. Oh yes. Just believe me, you cannot enter with any electronic gadget, no matter how small, inside the current residence of the Deputy President. It is impossible. So I come back to my question. How did this particular recording happen? And please pay careful attention to the fact that it is an audio clip. Yeah, no pictures. There can only be one answer. There was a spy, a very clever spy, right inside the Deputy President's residence in Karen, Nairobi. Bottom line, this has to be the work of our National Intelligence Service. And of course they have every right to eavesdrop, to gather intelligence in every corner of our republic, for the sake of usalama wa taifa. So they're doing their work, nothing wrong with that. Now there's a reason why I started with this particular point, and it's because of the second point. Now, usually intelligence services all over the world are very careful not to blow their cover. How do you blow your cover? One of the ways of blowing your cover is getting an audio like this and then allowing it to leak out, so that the side that is being monitored discovers, Allah, kumbe we're being monitored. I think you get what I'm saying. And of course, when they discover that they're being monitored, they're going to take action. And they're going to seal that loophole. Therefore, the really shocking thing here for me is that somebody felt this audio was so important that they sacrificed and decided to blow their cover and make this particular audio leak so that it ends up in the public domain. Yeah. What does that tell you? It tells you that the contents of this audio must be something game-changing. Otherwise, why would somebody blow their cover? Why would somebody allow the people they're monitoring to discover that actually there's a leak, they're being monitored? There is somebody recording sound at meetings which are meant to be private. The message is only intended to those who have attended, the small group of people who have attended. Folks, there can be no other reason, unless you educate me. And indeed, this particular audio is nothing short of being a game changer. Oh yes. And it seems that it all has to do with a very fierce struggle for full control of the Mount Kenya region. Now let's start this story at the beginning, so that everything comes together and we all understand and our eyes are opened. This audio was taken from a meeting that took place on Saturday, 2nd July. Who was the Deputy President meeting? He was meeting some elders, the Kikuyu Council of Elders, Kiambu chapter. Now, of course, Kiambu County is the home county of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, the circumstances surrounding this meeting between the Deputy President and these elders was that it is now very clear that the Mount Kenya region has turned. Whatever support the Deputy President had in the Mount Kenya region, especially amongst older Kenyans, seems to have evaporated. And what he remains with are the younger folks within the mountain. Many of them who are not registered voters. And therefore it is clear from a political perspective that this meeting the Deputy President had was to try and regain inroads with older voters in the Mount Kenya region. And of course, what better way of doing it than to meet influencers within the older folks, and that is the Kikuyu Council of Elders. And of course, what he was trying to tell them makes perfect sense, for somebody who has been cornered and is trying to turn around the situation. Because the long and short of what he was telling them in this controversial audio is that he is the one who saved the Uhuru Kenyatta presidency after the 2017 presidential elections, and especially after those elections had been nullified in a landmark ruling by our Supreme Court, led by the then Chief Justice David Maraga. And if you want to know how the Deputy President speaks when he's speaking in private, this is it. The man was very confident that there were no leaks. Nobody would ever be able to pin him down on the remarks he was making. And therefore, he opened his mouth and he spoke. Akaropokwa na akaropokwa. And the result is this audio, which means politically that in Kiambu, and indeed in the entire Mount Kenya region, nothing will be the same again, ever. That's really what it is. What the Deputy President was telling the Kikuyu elders is that our president is a weak man. Our president has made many mistakes, including the mistake of wanting to give up the presidency. And therefore he was telling the elders they should follow him, because he knows what is best for the community. President Uhuru Kenyatta may be one of them, mtu wao. However, he is weak. He doesn't understand what it takes. And therefore, they should trust him. And they should not trust the decision the president made in 2018 to have a handshake with Raila Amolo Odinga. That was the message. However, because this audio leaked, the whole narrative now changes completely. It's turned upside down. Let us go back to 2017. At the precise time when the deputy president says he went to State House and spoke to a very discouraged President Uhuru Kenyatta, whom the deputy president tells us was taking in some adult beverage. Let me just call it that. Ama soda ya wazee. Okay? Now, we're all humans. Let us employ some empathy here. Okay? This was the time after the very untimely, unfortunate, brutal murder of a man called Kshs Msando. And a female colleague. I'm sure you remember that. This was after we had lost some very young Kenyans, kids. The police walikuwa wanapiga risasi watoto wakicheza nje ya nyumba zao, nyumba za wazazi wao. You remember all that? This was the time after some bodies had been fished out of Lake Victoria, bullet-ridden. And it was believed very widely that those were victims of police bullets. After the announcement of the results of the 2017 presidential elections, police went straight to a place called Kondele in Kisumu. We even had videos online. This was also the time when the infamous Baby Pendo incident happened. You remember the toddler who lost their lives? Oh boy. It was a terrible time. And so imagine you're the person in charge of the country. How would you be feeling? Would you be feeling okay with yourself? Lesser focused on retaining power at all costs? Would you? The character of a man came out very clearly in this audio. And I'm sure, even if they've already not seen it, Kenyans will very soon see it the way it is. And so the deputy president is telling us that at that time, President Uhuru Kenyatta was of the view that he should just give up the presidency and let justice run its course. Why? Because of the heavy price that had been paid. And yet that election had been nullified by the Supreme Court. All that blood spilled, all that violence, all that effort to scare the opposition and their supporters, with very grave consequences, had come to naught. Maraga and his team had said, no, this was not a proper election, nullified, cancelled. It has to be repeated. On the other hand, the deputy president was saying, what has happened, but this is not the end. Let us continue. Okay? Let us continue with the Baby Pendo manenos, the Msando manenos. At all costs, we must retain power. Must. There is no way you can give up the presidency. How? This is what the deputy president was saying. And that's why he tells us he almost slapped the commander-in-chief. What? And now we can very comfortably and accurately fill in the blanks. Even after the repeat elections, the country was still tense. People were talking about secession. What was the deputy president saying? We have all the state machinery. Let us continue with the msandos, the baby pendos, until Kenyans submit to us, until Kenyans submit to the second term of the Jubilee government. But President Uhuru Kenyatta had a different view. President Uhuru Kenyatta decided enough was enough. And the result was the handshake, which the deputy president clearly has always been very much against. He's very bitter about it. He believes it was a mistake. And in a way we can understand him. After all that effort that was put in, after all that sacrifice, after him convincing the president, no, you can't give up, we must carry on. After all that, how could the president just go ahead and shake hands with Raila Odinga? How? What was all that for then? Yeah, that is the view of the deputy president. Very clear. Bottom line, the character of the man called President Uhuru Kenyatta and the character of the man called William Samoei Ruto, deputy president, are very different. They are so different that it is like darkness and light. The difference is huge, humongous, colossal. Now, let us answer a question that I know some of you may be having, because you know very well that we have been saying on this channel that the president fell out with his deputy long before the 2017 presidential elections, which is now being confirmed. So the question is, if they were not in good terms, how did the deputy president go to State House and get an audience immediately with the president? In my opinion, this is further evidence that the man who was in charge of the 2017 Jubilee presidential campaign, in charge of everything, all decisions, etc., etc., was not President Uhuru Kenyatta. It was William Samoei Ruto. It is the hard work of William Ruto that had been nullified by David Maraga and Company at the Supreme Court. He was in charge. He was the decision maker. Now, let us separate fiction here from possibility. It is fiction to think that anybody, no matter who you are, can walk up to the commander-in-chief of the Republic of Kenya, and it doesn't matter what state they are in, and assault them. Atuliwapiga kofi. Not possible. Not possible. And I'm sure the deputy president knows very well that had he carried out what he almost carried out, that slap, then he would not have left State House in the same condition he arrived in. That is the truth. Because you see, the security detail of the president, their work is to protect the president. There is no way it says protect the president, but in these circumstances, go easy. No! Even First Lady Margaret Kenyatta hawezi kujaribu kitu. I know you don't believe me. Let me give you an example, real life example, from neighboring Uganda. Now, between the years of 1994 and 2003, Uganda had a vice president who was a lady. Her name is Specioza Kazibwe. She was the vice president of the Republic of Uganda. and she was married to a man called Engineer Charles Kazibwe. And so one day, while in her official residence, her security detail heard her scream, and the usual security protocol kicked in. But then it was quickly realized that this was a domestic issue. What had happened is that Engineer Charles Kazibwe, the husband of the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, had slapped his wife, who was also the Vice President. To cut a long story short, this immediately became a matter of national security. And Bwana Charles Kazibwe was kicked out of the official residence of the Vice President. It didn't matter that that woman was his wife of 28 years. That was irrelevant. The security and well-being of the Vice President took priority over everything else. Now it is very interesting how the intelligence community in Uganda played this one. Because immediately after that had happened, that intelligence service leaked out information about this marriage, about how unfaithful this Charles Kazibwe was. He had had several children out of wedlock while this marriage was going on. He was a serial wife beater, etc., etc. And of course Ugandans got very angry at the man. But he was out of the official residence of the Vice President. I can imagine after that, even if this good wife, Mrs. Kazibwe, wanted the husband to visit her, for the usual wife-husband manenos, the man would have had a problem entering the Vice President's residence, because he would have immediately been told, yes, we know Her Excellency has said you come in, but it is not possible. We have our orders. This is a matter of national security. Period. Now, this was a mere Vice President. Yeah, we know in Africa, Vice Presidents are just Vice Presidents. Can you imagine if it was the President of Uganda? Can you imagine what would have happened? In my opinion, some people would not have been alive. Oh yes, that's what it is. This is serious business. But having said that, there are very special circumstances where somebody has slapped the President of the Republic of Kenya and gotten away with it. And what is more, the man they slapped was a man under the old constitution, where the President of Kenya was extremely powerful. Very powerful. And of course I'm talking about the day that President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi received not one, several slaps. It was during the 1982 coup attempt. The coup had been frustrated by forces loyal to President Moi. And President Moi was at his Kabarak home. Yeah, it is believed that the only person he was seated with was a man called Hezekiah Oyugi, who after that day became a very powerful man in Kenya for obvious reasons. And as he was seated with Oyugi, a few military officers entered the room. Now the story goes that Moi was in shock, maybe believed this was the end. The coup had been successful, and now these military people are coming for him to go and finish him, so that the new government would take over. And so when this military officer spoke to Moi, telling him that he was still in control, he was still the head of state, they had defeated the coup attempt, the message was not registering. So what do you do when somebody is in this kind of shock? Well, one of the ways of getting them out of the shock is to give them a few gentle slaps. Oh yes. And that is precisely what they did on the POC, the President of the Republic of Kenya. What? But those were extraordinary extraordinary circumstances. Clearly. Now back to the political impact of this latest very dramatic saga. In my opinion, it means that in Kiambu, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, kwisha maneno. Oh yes. The narrative now is that Ruto slapped mtu wetu. That's really what it is. It doesn't matter the circumstances. It doesn't matter the reason why. He almost slapped mtu wetu. Now you can imagine the emotional response to that by voters on the ground. And you can begin to understand why somebody made the major sacrifice of blowing their cover to reveal what the Deputy President said in private, or in a conversation that he did not want to go public. What about the rest of voters countrywide? This is also a very damaging audio. It reveals to Kenyans the true character of the man called William Samoei Ruto, who wants to be our next president. What? I don't know what to say. But I think it is important for somebody to think through their decision. Especially in matters which are so weighty as putting a man in charge of your country. What is the character of that man? Because this man will have a lot of power. And this is the way he was behaving when he had limited power. What about when he has absolute power? What is he going to do? You need to think very deeply about that. If you're a supporter of the Deputy President, and you don't have to vote for Raila, you don't have to vote for the weed-loving professor. No. You can opt not to vote on principle. At least your conscience will be clear in case the Deputy President wins. And the expected and the very predictable happens. Can you imagine the people who voted in Adolf Hitler? Can you imagine what they felt afterwards? Oh yes, Adolf Hitler was voted in by emotional voters who fell for propaganda and his sweet words, his sweet nothings. Folks, please think carefully. If not for your own sake, for the sake of your children, your grandchildren, and generations to come in your family lineage. Please. Now there's some people who may argue, quite rightly so, that all Team Azimio are using the intelligence service, which is supposed to be neutral during a general election. A lot of people are bound to say that. However, the response, which will be difficult to counter, is the following. It is the responsibility of the National Intelligence Service, and indeed the intelligence community, to expose dangers to the well-being of the nation called Kenya. Dangers like electing a person who almost slapped a president, a sitting president. That is not favoring any side. That is favoring the nation called Kenya, which is absolutely within their mandate. Oh yes. Until next time, this is Kshs, Kumekucha.